everyone, how are you? My name is Jen, and today I want to share with you a program that we are using in our homeschool that my son absolutely loves, and it works for him like crazy, and I am not in love with it. And that is analytical grammar. So sometimes people ask me, well, why do you use a curriculum that you don't like? And the simple answer is because it works. My son and I sat down and we talked about the way that he learns, and he's very much a textbook, workbook type person. We knew that we needed to work on grammar, and a fear of mine was I don't like grammar. I don't understand it. I'm not very good at it. And so these kinds of fears really made me understand that I needed a program that would also have most of the answers provided for me, along with examples and ways to explain it. So after he did some research, he came to me and he said, Mom, I found a program that is known to be difficult, but I want to try it. I said, okay. So I looked into it and I shopped around and I purchased Analytical Grammar. And I purchased the teacher's book, which looks like this, and the student book. And then I also purchased this book here. And so I purchased all three with the view that I knew I could use it over 3 years. And so that's one of the things that I really appreciate about Analytical Grammar is you can use this textbook, workbook series to really suit your needs. You can break it up. You can do it all in 1 year, which I wouldn't recommend, but if it works for your kid, go for it. The second one is you can do it into 2, or you can break it up into 3 seasons. And so that's what we decided to do. So let me show you inside. The first thing that really terrified us about the books is how big they are. See how thick they are? And you'll notice that the teacher's book is just as thick as the student's book. But when we first realized that, we're going to cover it over 3 years, so it's okay. The first book I want to show you is a teacher's book. So it looks like this. You can see it's very plain, but it really, really works. And so one thing I appreciate about it is the inside, it goes over each section. So you'll see there's an explanation on the Unit 1, Unit 2, Unit 3, which is great because it's really nice. And then we have the instructor's note. So it really tells you how to use. See, instructors for using the process. So it tells you the first time you go through it, the second time. It tells you how to break it down, and it even gives you hints of ways to use the process. But it's not overwhelming. It's 1 page. It's not like pages and pages and pages of instructions that the teacher has to read ahead, or the instructor. All right, so here, each section or season is divided by a bright green page. And I'm going to give you an example. So the first thing that you have is you have the lesson objective. And so there's an overview. So as you can see here, the first part has the nouns, articles, and adjectives. So you don't even need to know what those things mean. If you don't know, it tells you. It says the noun is a word that names a person, place, thing, or idea. And then it gives you examples, which is great for someone who doesn't know. There's the definitions, and then they have the exercise. So in the child's student book, it's just as big. It has also the same thing. Nouns along with examples. So you can read that together, or the child can do it independently. My son and I choose to do it together because I don't know what some of these things are. Obviously, I know what a noun is, but when it gets into prepositions and other things that I haven't used in years and years and years, then I needed to know. And then he has the exercise. So I'm going to try to get to one that we haven't done yet. So this is an exercise from next season that we haven't done. So you can see here, it has the exercise, and then over there you have the parsing, and then you have the diagramming. So it usually has 3 steps. It has the directions written on the top, a sentence, and they have to parse that sentence, which means that they identify each piece, each word, each piece of the puzzle with noun, adjective, whatever. And then I'm going to try to show you one that we did. So this is one that we did back in October. You can see my check marks and scribbles and his. So what we do is we go through together, and what I like about it is it gives the teacher the answers. So you don't need to know the answers. They're all right here for you. So can you see that? So above you can see each word is marked. So you don't need, it's not guessing, you can just go through and check. And then after you get, there's 3 exercises, and then there's a skills support section. So this is what a skills support section looks like. Okay. And that was the teacher's manual, so you saw the answers there. There's even an example of paraphrasing, so obviously your student isn't going to get this word for word, but it gives you an idea of what the paraphrasing might be that they could use. And then there's a test. Now, I think giving students tests are really important. You, of course, need to set this any way you want, or any way that works for your homeschool. Not everybody thinks that children should be tested. I like this as a kind of a review. And I really stress to my son that that's what it is. And it's okay to get mistakes. Some people get really anxious and overworked up about tests. So you want to relieve as much stress as possible, but it's a great way to figure out if your child understands what's going on before they move on. Because this book is not repeat, repeat, repeat. It builds on the unit. So once they have Unit 1 mastered, then they move on to Unit 2. They'll still use those skills, but you won't review them. It's not a lot of repetition, which is kind of nice because repetition gets boring. For your sake, there's also a skill, and then there's a box that will tell you how to mark the lesson. So I change it up a bit. There's 10 sentences in the unit, and then they're to diagram those 10 sentences. Once my son had diagramming down pat, what we did is we would have him diagram 1. And then if he got that and he understood it, then he didn't have to do any more. And if he got it wrong, then we would find out where he went wrong, and then he would do another one. And the reason that is, I use paper clips. Because the book is so big, I use paper clips to keep where we were. So for example, I'm going to show you why diagramming and I do not get along. Are you ready? See, now some of you, those little pieces and puzzles probably make a lot of sense. My son gets it just like that. Me, I'm like, wait a second. So I'm like looking, answers are good. So after we've done the first 10 units, I believe the first section, is 10. Then we moved on to this book. And this book is so that your child doesn't forget what they learn. So once a week he does, or once every 2 weeks, however you want to do it, he does one activity. So there's reinforcement units. It's broken down for 1 to 10. And then there's an answer key. And then there's a review unit before he starts in the next season. Then he'll do that season. And then for us, he'll come back through and he'll do the reinforcement activities from units 10 to 17, which I have the answers for. And then the third year, he'll do the final section of the book. So it's a 3-year season is what I'm using. And so I'm going to give you an idea. And I love this book for 2 reasons. One, it recommends, sometimes finding books that your child should or may be interested in reading is hard. So this book actually gives you suggestions. So I'm going to show you a lesson that we did. It is from National Velvet. You can see here. So the child doesn't have to have read the book to understand the lesson. It's all right here. You have to parse these sentences here, paraphrase, this paragraph from National Velvet. So that's an actual excerpt from the book. And then he does a sentence and diagrams it. There's my trusty way of keeping track where we were. And then for me, I just flip over to the yellow pages, which are usually pretty easy to find, and it has the answer key. But what I really like about this is I went through and I wrote a list of the books that were mentioned. And so I went and checked our local library, and I bring home 2 or 3 and I just set them on the table. And some of the books that they do mention later or throughout the book are some books by L.M. Montgomery, not particularly this one. I don't believe this is Emily Climb's. This is one we have in our own bookshelf. And of course, Call of the Wild and White Fang, which my children absolutely love, by Jack London. But there's all kinds of books listed in there, so you're never at a shortage of what your child could be reading. It gives you lots of great ideas. But the child does not need to read the book in order to do the lesson. But it's kind of nice, because then they come to you and go, what happened? And you go, would you like to know? And then you can get them a book. And there's also great authors that you probably know, like this one. My kids love this guy. So this is one that we haven't done, so you get a better idea of what it looks like. So there's the lesson, paraphrase, the spot to actually do it. And then there's only 5 sentences in this one, so they do all 5. And then you get the answers. So that is what analytical grammar looks like. We use it because it works for him. And even though I don't like it, I have all the tools to make it work for me. So my question for you today is, do you have a course or a subject or a program that your children absolutely love that you do not? I would love to know, so leave me a message in the comments. And if you want to read the review, you'll find the link below. Thanks.